Hello, hello. I am recording this from my parents' house at the beach. I've been visiting them for the last week, which is honestly the longest time I've had with them in several years. Longest time I've been at the beach, and it is the nicest that it has been. So I'm a little bit like sun-kissed, beach blasted, uh, exhausted, but very happy. I'm looking for some notes that I took as far as things that I was like, ooh, I would be really excited to talk about this. I have no idea where they're. Yeah, they've all gone away. But April has started already. Today was sort of a big day in the country, with a bunch of protests, which has definitely like lifted my overall mood and anxiety. Full disclosure, I did not participate in them. My parents uh, do local protests pretty regularly, so we're going to do that tomorrow. Hopefully, the like large crowd, the location where it was about an hour from here, they've done protests there before, and they just don't love uh, that area in particular because of all the traffic patterns. Um, So that said, it's a very shift in energy for me. This month, really excited. And what I've been thinking about um, starting today, really, which is sort of surprising. I've probably thought about it before, but I don't remember having articulated it, is how this year is a hermit year. So 2025, 2025, 9 hermit in tarot numerology. How this year really um, I think asks us not necessarily to embody the hermit, but to, consider the different aspects of the hermit, right? One is the truth seeking, the finding sort of your inner truth, the having sort of the knowledge, the wisdom, the insights that come with the Hierophant and the High Priestess, but then being able to sort of like find your individual expression of that. Um, I think that's certainly very 2025. I also think, right, that sort of the isolation of the hermit needs to be a temporary thing. I've always thought that. And let me phrase that. Since embracing the hermit archetype, I have always thought that. The reason why I didn't like the hermit before was because I hadn't learned that lesson. And so I really avoided the hermit because I avoided that isolation. But seeing it as like a temporary, um, uh, like it's a temporary journey, it's a temporary search. So I just finished the Hermit's journey for myself the other day. It has been 90 days, and for the most part, I stuck on it. So maybe I'm a little bit in that energy and thinking through like, okay, Hermit's journey is done. The Hermit has to come back into the world, into reality. It is a temporary thing. This Hermit energy of 2025, so much of 2025 sort of moving forward as, for those in the US at least, sort of functioning, um, sort of how we survive is in community, is in connection, is in lots of things that don't feel super hermity. One thing that does, though, is the resilience and the ability to sort of navigate the wilderness. And so that's something that I've really been thinking about for a few years now. I've wanted to kind of like have land, have um, like a place to work with the earth, with plants, garden, farm, whatever. That is not in my 2025 bingo card by any stretch of the imagination. I just don't have those funds to be able to do that anywhere where I'm interested in living. And that's fine, right? It's a goal for the future. But sort of developing that knowledge, learning sort of a practical community focused skill. Um, being able to sort of navigate the wilds, whether that's foraging or that's farming, or I think of the hermit as sort of an ideal forager, right? In order to survive, out taking, their whole camping van with them, right? How do they survive in the wilds? And that's something that I've always been super impressed by other people. Um, the one of my now friends, once upon a time, just a woman I greatly admired, Ceola Thompson, her Hedwig Botanical Oracle reminded me sort of that the ability to forage in the wild. Shows like Alone, which is a totally fascinating show, very Hermit vibes. Those sorts of things, right? Like being able to sort of make it in the wilderness has always been super impressive to me. I've always wanted to learn it. Never have I prioritized that. Um, but yeah, so that is on my mind, thinking about foraging, farming, learning to sort of like work the land. Also, of course, right, it's not just that, but like mechanics and medicine, right? People who know how to build carpentry, right? These are having practical skills that can be applied in a community setting. I think are really valuable. I think a lot of us want to be storytellers. I think a lot of us would be good storytellers, but we also need to be able to build things. And so I'm excited to see more people take that up, quite frankly, and hopefully, you know, I do some of it myself as well. But those are my kind of hermit-y thoughts coming out of my own hermit's journey that I said finished fairly recently. I'll be honest, I was a couple days behind. I did a fairly good job keeping up with the regular the emails that come every 3 days. And if you're not familiar with what the hermit's journey is, it's this email sequence with self-reflection questions that I developed. And um, once you sign up for it, it's like $9, nine for the hermit. Um, you get an email every 3 days. You can't stop it. If you sort of unsubscribe, you have to start over from the beginning, which is a major flaw in the system, I recognize. I just don't know how to work around that with my existing systems. But um, when I fell a couple of days behind, I would just sort of catch up fairly quickly and then get back into the groove of things. And it proved really helpful in giving space to spiritual self-reflection when it would have been really difficult not to. And for me, it's really important to make sure that I'm checking in. I mean, for the Journal of Threads, for those who are just part of the Patreon and get those daily exercises and things. I mean, obviously, there are exercises that you could be doing every day to check in with spiritual and practical matters. But I mean, I very few people can do one of those every single day and sort of like check in on that front. Um, they are meant to be sort of like different and ways of going beyond what you might naturally do, like meditating 5 minutes every day. Like that works every day, right? You don't have to sort of get inspired by the astrology of the day, um, or the planetary days or any of the threads or any of the stuff that's in the Journal of Threads. But um, yeah, like having that email check-in was sort of like, okay, I can check off a sort of spiritual reflection without worrying about like, okay, am I in the mood to meditate? Because I don't meditate every day. I should, but I don't. I don't even exercise every day, although much closer to every day than meditating. Right. And so, yeah, if you can find those things for yourself, whether it's the Hermit's Journey for 90 days or um, the Journal of Threads, right? Just some kind of practice that could take 5 minutes just to do something to tap in. It really is really grounding. It really is sort of self-affirming. You get to claim your time. And I think this month with April, that's really important given that our month theme is strength. What I would encourage you to do, whether it's journal threads activities or just, you're doing your own thing, exercising, meditating, drawing, right, is to tap into that idea of like what strength is. Um, right, there's power and force and muscular strength. There's endurance, fortitude, stamina, resilient strength. There's also gifts, right, that we have, our strengths, and that can play out in any realm. And so I just encourage you to allow yourself to enjoy those strengths that you have in whatever form regularly throughout the month. I was originally going to do like a uh, a sort of jump through of the exercises and archetypes, and I don't have time for that. My parents are calling me to come join them for dinner. One of the benefits of being with family, of course, is eating together, and I'm very excited to do that, but not my schedule. But yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I was able to share something before the first week of April is out. I'm actually thinking that I'll come back on and share another kind of reflection maybe mid-month as we are getting towards Taurus, because so I posted this to the Patreon earlier, but I sort of streamlined readings into a classic, right? Like Akashic, Tarot, Lenormand, Kipper, Oracle, whatever, right? That's all just a classic reading. Just want a reading, some sort of experience, getting particular answers, and then a monthly or seasonal theme. Really excited for that. I've enjoyed getting to do those readings for those of you who've scheduled them. And then a new coaching sequence or series, right? That is seasonally inspired. And that's been fun for those who have signed up. It's been fun for me to work with those of you who have signed up for that. But I am also thinking in my mind, like, okay, I want to start up Tarot to Transform Your Life again. Like, I'm committed to doing that. I really love that small group coaching program. And so I'm just trying to find the right time. Like, I'm not rushing, I'm not forcing it to fit within a particular schedule as I normally would, very Virgo moon brain. Um, but that is sort of like weighing heavily on my mind. And then, of course, thinking about what I want to do to bring in new material to spruce up the fall semester. I've had a lot of fun this past year adding some new classes to the repertoire. Um, and so I plan to introduce or to teach Introduction to Astrology next year, whether it's a one semester or both semesters class, I don't know, because there's a lot to astrology. Part of me is thinking about offering Read Tarot Like a Nerd again. It's self-paced currently, um, and people would have access to the self-paced, but I do think like foundations of tarot kind of thing would be a fun class. I tried to get some of that with the current classes with structures of meaning, signs of meaning, and that may just absorb those ideas more intentionally again. But I may also sort of, I don't know, I may do a slightly different model so that people can like hop in, hop out, and feel like they're getting a complete package in that 1 hour lesson, even if they don't really like, they don't necessarily have to build off of each other. There are pros and cons of that. The pros are primarily for people who want to pop on. The cons would be for people who are more interested in that long running, um, incremental, iterative sequence, although they'll still benefit. It's just, yeah. So if you have thoughts about classes, if you have thoughts about class structure, let me know. Some of you have shared thoughts in a form that I sent out a million years ago, it seems like. And one of you gave me a really good idea for Tarot to Transform Your Life, having sort of 3 months on, a month off, and then 2 months on again, to get the right amount of total time without it feeling just like a 5 month slog. So things that I'm thinking about and working on behind the scenes. And I'm also looking at things like spread books, creating new spreads. I shared one recently, but stuff that also thinking about things that would be just exclusive to Patreon. I know that that's super fun for people. And there's a lot of stuff in the Patreon, certainly at the other tiers. If you're, just at the trickster or lover level, there's like a bunch of other stuff at the higher levels. And so I don't want to overwhelm it, but every now and again, just having like a nice little exclusive thing. I don't know what that would be. A spread is fairly easy for me to do on that front, but I don't know if that's sort of juicy enough to warrant it. Yeah. So let me know what you think on all of those fronts, classes, exclusives, uh, potential spread ideas, anything that you're thinking about in terms of workbooks. Like, I'm definitely itching to write a book, the book that I thought that I would write. There are two books that are very similar in concept that just came out, and so I don't feel super strongly about working on that right now. Um, have some ideas cooking with Ciolo for another collaboration, but that's, I would love to do something solo as well. So yeah, lots of things in the work. Glad to be able to share it with you in some form, even if it's not the normal one, or even if it's not all of the details. So let me know what you think, and I will see you all in a couple of weeks, hopefully. I'll talk to you later. Bye.